It's Thursday, the 3rd of May, 2018, and this is your EV News Daily. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and howdy, wherever you're listening around the world. A very warm welcome from London in the UK. And here is today's news about electric cars and the future of transport. My name is Martin Lee, and I go through every EV article online so you don't have to. Coming up on the show today, Daimler have been buying electric car battery cells from China, and Porsche's brand new Cayenne hybrid SUV is very high on my want list. But first of all, Tesla's Q1 results. I'll give you the headlines now. I won't go into the subsequent earnings call and the Q&A and all those kind of things. Otherwise, this will be an hour long. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. So today, though, just the headlines. Arguably, Tesla's results, some of the most anticipated on any publicly traded company in the US, because they have so many fans and so many shorters as well that want to see the company brought down a peg or two. Didn't happen today, though. Share price holding up in after hours trading on some really good news. I mean, it's not stellar news if you hope that Tesla are going to turn into a profitable company, but that's coming. You can see that the time in the future when those revenues are going to take off, or particularly being cash flow positive. Anyway, highlights are that Model 3 production hit 2,270 per week in April for the third straight week, over 2,000. My comment on that would be it was slightly lower than the Bloomberg tracker was giving them credit for. It peaked a little higher than that before coming back down again. But the peak Model 3 production, 2,270. Cash balance at the end of Q1 was $2.7 billion US dollars. The 2018 Capex projection, and that's interesting. Have you heard the podcast where we talked about Elon's letter to all staff? And there was a key part in that when he talked about any spending over $1 million needing to be signed off by him personally going forward, and having asked the financial people at Tesla to go through every item of spending, as the focus for years has been on spend what you need to spend, now turns to spend what gives the biggest bang for the buck. It's interesting they put this in one of the top 4 headlines, that the Capex reduction is down from 3.4 billion to less than 3 billion US dollars, and expecting positive net income and positive cash flow Q3 and Q4 in 2018. The second half of this year, H2 this year, is going to be the biggest, most crucial in Tesla's history, if you ask me. Tesla said today that we made significant progress on the Model 3 ramp in the second half of Q1, and the momentum continued into early Q2. Well, prior to a planned shutdown in mid-April, to further increase production, we produced more than 2,000 Model 3 vehicles for 3 straight weeks, and we hit 2,270 in the last of those weeks. Even at this stage of the ramp, Model 3 is already on the cusp of becoming the best-selling mid-sized premium sedan in the US, and our deliveries continue to increase. Consumers have clearly shown that electric vehicles are simply more desirable when priced on par with their internal combustion engine competitors, while offering better technology, performance, and user experience. And they continue to say that if we execute according to our plans, we will at least achieve positive net income, excluding non-cash stock-based compensation in Q3 and Q4. And we expect to achieve full profitability in each of these quarters. This is primarily based on our ability to reach Model 3 production volume 5,000 units per week, and to grow Model 3 gross margin from slightly negative in Q1 to close to break even in Q2, and they're highly positive in Q3, Q4. Ultimately, the growth of Model 3 and the profit associated with it will help us accelerate the transition to a sustainable energy even faster. This bit that I picked out later was this. With increasing capacity for Powerwall and Powerpack products at Gigafactory 1, energy generation and storage revenues should continue to grow significantly throughout the year. So it was a long old 4-page document. Those are the highlights that I picked out. We'll talk more about it on the podcast tomorrow. Maybe not the lead item again, but very interesting. Oh, and the other thing they talked about Model 3 being the premium sedan, they called it, didn't they? Yeah, they've compared it to the BMW 3 Series, the Audi A4, the Merc C-Class, and the Lexus IS. And Tesla Model 3 sales already ahead of the Beamer and the Audi and the Lexus, and it is within a whisker of overtaking the Mercedes C-Class. And when it does, yeah, Model 3 is going to be the number one mid-size premium sedan in the US. Interesting thing for them to highlight. the full shareholder letter. If you're interested, by the way, I've put a link to it on the show notes, and I've tweeted about it. You can just look at the show notes of the podcast to read the whole thing as a PDF if you want to. And if you want way more analysis than I could ever imagine on giving, like for the financial side, check out Rob Maur's daily Tesla podcast. He's an investor in Tesla. Super interesting. He just puts it in really good everyday language. If you want to check that out, it's one of my highly recommended podcasts to listen to. Well, moving on. Apart from Tesla, other things did happen in the world today. You'll be pleased to hear if there is life beyond Tesla. News to some people that Germany's Daimler announced at a Stuttgart press conference that they've awarded a contract for EV battery cells to China's Contemporary Amperex Technology Limited, or let's just call them CATL. The procurement executive, Sabine Angermann, wouldn't elaborate on how many or when the contract is going to start delivering those cells. They could be cells for the Chinese models they're going to make over there at the most basic level, keeping them domestic, made in China, sold in China, and maybe the contract includes other bits like VW's announcement about their battery contract also includes some other parts that come with them. Maybe they're fully built batteries, we don't know, but that's the first we heard of it today. It's definitely one to watch. Now, moving on, and we've talked a lot about trucks lately after talking yesterday about the Motive chassis, which coach builders can then put their bodies on top of. Even with RVs, they're going to be used with investment they've had from Winnebago. More trucks are in the news now, and I love how trucks, being one of the biggest polluters, particularly diesel trucks, are getting the electric treatment really fast this year. They seem to have been a sector that just exploded this year. You know, country songs may never be the same again. Any fan of a country song will know it's all about your tractor backing up a 2-lane road, y'all, and your power stroke, tearing up some dirt and taking your girl out in your diesel and kicking off your boots. I'm afraid that all of the above is going to have to be rewritten to include lyrics about kilowatt hours and regenerative braking. I'd love to hear that on country radio stations. Well, Roush has unveiled its all-new electric Ford F650 at the Advanced Clean Transportation, the ACT Expo in Long Beach, California, that's going on this week. Now, Todd Mao, who is president of Roush Cleantech, said this, and I quote, "An electric battery option for medium-duty trucks and buses is a great fit, as there is increasing demand in this gross vehicle weight range, with very few OEM solutions." Now, the lithium-ion batteries in this platform go up to 225 kilowatt hours, gives those haulers 120 miles of range, and top speed isn't really the point of those kind of trucks, but they can do 75 miles an hour. Well, Chronopost is part of DPD, the parcel delivery company, and they've just announced running 100 new Voltia all-electric vans. This is part of a plan to fully electrify their Paris fleets and tackle the air pollution that France's capital has quite badly, actually. So what is a Voltia, then? Well, it's a Slovakian company. The van starts life as a Nissan ENV200. But they double the cargo capacity of it, and then they add rear access so you can walk in. Now, the new Nissan ENV200 uses the upgraded 40 kilowatt hour pack from the brand new Nissan Leaf, and I'm assuming that they're using the AESC packs, which are used in the cars. Final time they'll be using those before they move on to the 60 kilowatt hour packs. But, and it's a big but, it has active thermal management. Now, these Voltia vans are also available on the roads already in Austria, Czech Republic, Estonia, France, Germany, Netherlands, obviously Slovakia, where they're made, Ukraine, UK, got some here in the UK, those Voltia vans that are made from the Nissans. Well, moving on, and China's biggest electric vehicle company, BYD, gave investors a scare after posting an 83% fall in net profits for 2018 Q1, with further challenges in line for Q2, reports the China Economic Review. They continue. The Warren Buffett-backed company also said it expects net profits to fall between 71% and 83% in the first half of the year compared with 2017. And it attributed this dramatic fall in profits mainly to the ongoing cutbacks in government subsidies for EV companies in China. Well, apologies. If you follow me on Twitter, I might have tweeted a lot about this next story. It is a plug-in hybrid, which is my excuse for featuring it on the podcast. In no way is this a green car or in no way is this car good for the environment. It's the new Porsche Cayenne e-hybrid. And it is another tank-sized SUV. Look, it's way more car than most people need. And let's get the green-ish credentials up front, because I'm being a bit tenuous here. It's got 27 miles on pure EV. That's EPA range, though, so real-life range is going to be less. Now, all manufacturers are going to have to move over to the WLTP rating soon. So if Porsche's still quoting EPA figures, you know it's not going to be as good as that. Well, the electric motor works with a turbo V6 gas engine, and thanks to that electric power, it's got 516 pound-feet of torque, pretty much from standstill, down from 1,000 revs on the engine. That is all the torques! There is an all-electric mode, and there's an e-hold mode for when you're heading into cities, plus there's an e-charge mode, and that's going to burn a few more of those friendly dinosaurs just to charge up the battery. Great car, gorgeous car, in no way a green car, but an interesting way that some companies are going to start using battery technology, bring down the emissions, and add low-down instant performance. And finally, BMW's given the Mini a little refresh with some new infotainment, toys, other general updates, a bit of customization. But the big update for the Mini is going to be a change of powertrain next year. Well, here in the UK, in the city of Oxford, is where the Mini E will be built, assembled, I should say, really. There's going to be some other bits coming. It's the first full electric production of the little go-kart-like Mini. It's going to be a proper production version. There was an electric Mini years ago. They made 500 or 600 of them as a kind of test case, but we don't really count that. Some of the parts are going to be made in Germany, and like the drivetrain is going to be made at BMW Group's Dingolfing and Landshut plants, and then shipped to the UK for assembly. This will be in 2019, post-Brexit, which is when all sorts of crazy, difficult economic implications. Even if we leave the EU, it's such a hot potato. I'm being so careful because I know that it's about 50-50 in this country. Half the people think that we should, half think that we shouldn't, and whatever I say, I'm going to offend half the people listening. So I'll keep it non-committal. But one of the downsides is if BMW say it's just not worth it, then they'll make the whole thing in Germany, and more job losses for the UK, as we've seen in our car industry. People who voted for Brexit, though, still saying it is worth going through the pain for the long-term gain. Fingers crossed that investment still happens in the UK. Oh, insiders, by the way, pointing at Q3 next year, 2019, for that Mini production starting. Well, I would love to spread the word about electric cars, so if you can, share this with somebody who might be interested. Every previous episode of the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, TuneIn, on SoundCloud, and the blog at evnewsdaily.com. Remember to subscribe. It means you haven't got to think about downloading it every day. One less thing to worry about in your life. And it means you get it first and free and automatically. And if you can rate and review, that would be lovely. If you have an Amazon Echo, get the skill for a flash briefing. Search EV News Daily and your little blue Alexa icon there on your iPhone or your Android device, and come and say hi on our socials, Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter. Just search EV News Daily. We'll go through all of the Tesla reaction to the call, all those kind of things on tomorrow's show, but for now, have a wonderful day and I'll catch you tomorrow.